Imagine this. You're holding your breath, waiting for news, good news, something that promises joy, a new chapter, maybe even, the expansion of your family. You're bracing for celebration, for that rush of excitement. But instead, what washes over you is just this profound sense of dread. A sickening feeling settles in your stomach, maybe even anger. It's a specific scenario, sure, but it touches on something deeply human. Navigating complex, often really messy family dynamics when unexpected challenges hit. And that's exactly where we're diving today. We're pulling back the curtain on a raw, almost painful Reddit post. It's from Search Off My Chest. It's a confession from a sibling grappling with a family situation that's, let's just say, far from picture perfect. It's something many of us, maybe in different ways, might find ourselves wrestling with. The core dilemma. How do you reconcile love, family ties, with this profound concern for an innocent new life caught in the crossfire of untreated mental health challenges?
Right. And our mission today, really sparked by our listener who brought the source to us, is to try and understand the intricate emotional landscape here, both in the post and the comments that follow. We want to explore the implications of serious mental health diagnoses within families, especially, like you said, when a new life is involved. So we'll start by digging into the main narrative first. Unpack the original poster's anguish, their fears, the specific circumstances. Then we'll pivot to the comments, looking at the diverse perspectives, the shared experiences, and the advice offered, balancing the often heartbreaking stuff with maybe some glimmers of hope too.
Because this isn't just about a diagnosis on paper, is it? It's about the ripple effect, how it spreads through a family. It's about the feel for this unborn child and the surprising, sometimes really tough, sometimes hopeful range of insights that a community offers up. We're going to pull out the key bits of knowledge, the aha moments, the things that help us all get a bit more informed on a really personal yet widely resonant topic. Okay, let's unpack this, the deep dive. When good news isn't good news, let's start right at the heart of it, the emotional core. The original poster OP, they don't ease you in. It opens with this stark statement, my sister is pregnant and everyone is devastated. It's not good news. Just pause on that for a second. Pregnancy, a new baby, that's almost always met with joy, right? Congratulations, excitement. But here, for this family, for the OP, it immediately triggers sickness, being upset, even anger, this visceral, counterintuitive reaction to what should be happy news. That's the key, I think, to understanding the depth of the despair. It's not just disappointment, it's this profound, almost tragic dread about the environment this baby is entering.
A gut-level rejection of good news.
Exactly. And this anguish, this sadness, it stems from a very specific and serious dilemma. The OP makes that clear. This isn't, casual internet labeling. It's not armchair diagnosis, which, let's face it, we see a lot of online. It's not just someone being toxic or difficult sometimes. No. The OP states very clearly both their sister and her husband have been professionally diagnosed with serious personality disorders. The sister has borderline personality disorder, BPD. Her husband has narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. And this is where it gets really interesting because it shifts from maybe a personal grievance to a situation involving clinically significant conditions, professionally recognized. These aren't just character flaws you can ignore. They're complex mental health conditions impacting thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and, crucially, relationships. And maybe it helps just briefly to touch on what these diagnoses can mean, especially for parenting, to really get the OP's concern. Borderline personality disorder, BPD. It's characterized by patterns of intense emotional swings, impulsivity, really turbulent relationships, often a deep fear of abandonment. Imagine like a constant emotional roller coaster. Moods shift fast, intensely. There's often this desperate need for validation from others. For a child, that can create an incredibly unstable, unpredictable home. The parent's emotional state kind of dictates everything. Kids often feel like they're walking on eggshells. Then you add narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. That involves this pattern of grandiosity, a real lack of empathy, needing constant admiration. A parent with NPD might struggle to truly see or prioritize their child's needs over their own. The child can become sort of an extension of the parent or just a source of validation. The combination of the two, like the OP describes, well, it can be particularly tough, creating a dynamic where maybe neither parent can consistently provide that emotional safety, that stability, that unconditional love a child needs.
And the absolute heartbreaker here, the thing the OP hammers home, is that neither of them will accept the diagnosis or get treatment. That refusal. That's central to the OP's distress. It's everything. It means those destructive patterns, the ones linked to the disorders, they're just left unchecked. They continue to cause chaos, not just for them, but for everyone around them. The personal toll on the OP, it's laid bare. Phrases like, "it has almost ruined my life," and how dealing with them is challenging and exhausting, even from another province, even with distance. Imagine that drain, that emotional burden carrying across physical distance. The OP also points out this striking gap between their ages and their maturity. The sister's 28, brother-in-law 33, but they don't act their age. That's not just a casual jab. It suggests a lack of responsibility, maybe foresight, the emotional regulation you'd expect from adults their age, especially adults about to become parents. This kind of arrested development, it can be a feature of untreated personality disorder sometimes. Struggling with adult tasks, emotional control, planning, and it all leads to the OP's profound, terrifying fear for the unborn child. Stated plainly, two people with untreated personality disorders should not be parents. That's not just an opinion, it's raw anguish. Seeing an innocent life heading into what they see as a damaging, maybe lifelong traumatic situation. They say they don't know whether to cry or rage. That just perfectly captures the powerlessness, the desperation.
Yeah, that phrase really hits hard. And this whole narrative from the OP, it really crystallizes a critical question for us, one that goes way beyond the specific family. What happens when individuals have significant, documented, but unaddressed mental health challenges and decide to have a child? And, maybe more importantly, what are the ripple effects on those around them, especially close family who often witness it, sometimes bear the brunt of it? The OP's despair isn't just personal struggle. It's about the fundamental well-being of a child. It's about the societal challenge of navigating severe mental illness within families when treatment is refused. It really forces you to confront that difficult intersection of, well, personal autonomy versus collective responsibility for the vulnerable.
Okay, so we felt that initial gut punch of the post, that sense of dread for this baby. Now, what's really fascinating is moving beyond that individual anguish to see how this diverse, often very experienced online community reacts. What stands out is just the sheer breadth of perspectives. You've got people who live similar situations as kids, people with the diagnoses themselves. They offer validation, shared stories, and a really wide array of advice. It's like stepping into this huge, anonymous support group where every comment adds another layer to this incredibly complex human story. It shows the full spectrum of challenges and maybe some potential paths forward, too.
Absolutely. And as we dig into these comments, a common and frankly pretty sobering thread emerges, especially from those identifying as adult children of parents with BPD or NPD. Many paint a stark picture of the harm, often lifelong harm, to kids when parents struggle with these conditions untreated. For instance, a commenter, FengBang6669, who actually has BPD and other disorders herself, speaks from experience. Both as someone with BPD and raised by mentally ill parents, she states it quite directly. Without treatment, the child is doomed to a childhood of instability and covert abuse. And she emphasizes the huge, exhausting work she and her husband, who also has BPD, put in to make sure their own child isn't affected. She calls this work needed. That's not just a casual comment. It's a warning rooted in deep understanding of the conditions and the massive effort needed to counteract them. Then there's Laura 212100, an adult child of a BPD mother who also refused the diagnosis. She echoes this, saying, and this is tough, us kids paid the price for that, and as a 45-year-old, I still struggle to overcome the damage she inflicted. That just underscores the lasting impact, doesn't it? The price isn't just paid in childhood. It echoes through a whole life. Ongoing struggles with relationships, self-worth, managing emotions. Paisley Way, 24, another daughter of a BPD mother, puts it chillingly. She talks about being parentified, forced to take on adult roles, care for the emotionally immature parent as a child. This leaves them exposed to volatile mood swings that keep you perpetually in a state of fight or flight until you can finally leave the household. The consequence, spending the rest of your life healing from the trauma. It's a vivid picture of childhood under constant threat, chronic stress. It literally rewires a kid's brain towards hypervigilance. And maybe one of the most detailed, impactful accounts is from Honey Elma. Mother with BPD, father with NPD. She shares this devastating story of an unstable and confusing childhood, learning to walk on eggshells around her mother, constantly trying to avoid outbursts. Both parents would put me down to lift themselves up, a classic narcissistic thing, undermining the child to boost the parent's fragile ego. When Honey Lama confided in her father about her mother's behavior, he couldn't accept he'd chosen a bad partner. Instead, he forced me to feel grateful for the abuse. Imagine that twisted reality. Being told to be grateful for abuse. It led Honey Lama to develop generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, and CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, for our listeners, it's different from standard PTSD. It comes from prolonged, repeated trauma, often in childhood. It leads to deep issues with emotions, identity, relationships. It's not just symptoms. It shows how profoundly a child's whole psychological makeup can be warped, requiring years, maybe decades of healing. And the anecdotes get even more shocking. They paint a picture not just of emotional damage, but physical endangerment from neglect. Nerdy Girl Chicago talks about her partner's untreated BPD mother neglecting basic needs: food, a proper bed, hygiene, even homeschooling him by not teaching him anything he had to learn on his own at the library.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's more than just emotional neglect. That's fundamental well-being.
Exactly. And even more tragically, she mentions her partner had a younger brother with leukemia. The mother's negligence likely exasperated the illness and symptoms. That detail is chilling. It shows how untreated mental illness and a caregiver can have life-threatening physical consequences. And the stories keep layering this grim reality. Move Me with the Sound talks about her sister with BPD and meth use. Even after losing custody, the sister managed to do so much damage to her nephew in just 4 years, resulting in speech delay, eating issues, anger outbursts, and even suspected Munchausen by proxy, where the mother might induce or fake illness in the child for attention.
That's one of the most insidious forms of abuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
The caregiver causing harm instead of care.
It's a profound betrayal. It shows the lasting impact even brief exposure can have. And finally, Shani Blue Dollar describes that common, often disastrous pairing of MPD and BPD, how her brother and his wife ruin every single family get-together. It led her to go low contact to protect her own mental health and her child. She says, "My baby will not suffer because of their mental illness." That's a powerful statement of self-preservation, recognizing the limits when dealing with unwell family members.
So reading all this, what does it really mean for the baby in the original post? The message seems overwhelmingly clear, doesn't it? The consistent theme from these lived experiences is that without treatment, the environment created by parents with untreated personality disorders can be, and often is, profoundly damaging. It's not just bad days, it's a pattern, leading to deep, lasting, sometimes intergenerational trauma, affecting emotional, psychological, even physical development for a lifetime. These comments paint a vivid, stark picture of a potential future no one wants for a child. Intent doesn't negate impact.
Right, but, and this is crucial, we need to balance this very sobering picture. There's another perspective here, a counter-narrative that offers, well, maybe not easy answers, but vital hope. The comment section isn't just doom and gloom. It also includes powerful stories from people with these diagnoses who do seek help. And they highlight that the diagnosis itself isn't a life sentence to being a bad parent or doomed. This distinction is absolutely critical. Take Fangbang 6669 again. We heard her warning, but she also shares her own journey. Both she and her husband have BPD, but they do that exhausting but needed work to make sure their child isn't affected. She talks about her past, spiraling, self-harm, suicide attempts, constant partying. After a hospitalization, she committed to partial treatment, CBT and DBT. And maybe for our listeners, let's just quickly touch on CBT and DBT. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, helps people identify and change problematic thinking and behaviors, seeing how thoughts, feelings, actions connect. Dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, is a type of CBT specifically developed for BPD. It teaches skills in 4 key areas: mindfulness, tolerating distress, regulating emotions, and interpersonal effectiveness. These are the very areas where people with BPD often struggle, and they're vital for stable parenting. So when Fangbang 6669 says, it takes the willpower to want to do better, she's talking about that immense daily effort, interrupting old patterns, building new skills, confronting hard truths, all for the child. Hearing their daughter is happy makes everything worth it. That's a testament to incredible personal effort. Panda Pack History, also with BPD, backs this up. Mentions DBT, how combination of meds and therapy have really helped but not solved. She emphasizes it requires a conscious effort every day not to give in to the BPD. It's ongoing management, not a one-time fix. Continuous self-awareness, using skills. Another really striking example. Ebony Rose 2828 also has BPD. She made the incredibly tough, selfless choice never have children to end the cycle of her own mother's BPD. She acknowledged she would be a terrible mom. That shows incredible self-awareness, accountability, a profound commitment to breaking that generational pattern. Then there's Failsafe Zero, navigating bipolar disorder, plus generational trauma from a mother described as schizophrenic, narcissistic, and abusive. They detail years of therapy and meds before having a child, an ongoing battle to undo the ingrained trauma responses. But states firmly, my point is, you can have mental disorders and also do the work and get yourself straightened out. Highlighting that proactive, dedicated effort some put in, and adding another layer of hope, 3 Rib Zero, May 98, Diagnosed with BPD after her daughter was born, she says her child truly is the best thing that happened to me, her favorite person, a reason to live. She suggests a possible shift in the brain when one becomes a parent. The responsibility, the love, acting as a powerful motivator for change. This is echoed by Notanoi, who works in mental health. They've seen positive changes in BPD women who become parents. Suggesting the new role, being forced to take care of something that needs a lot of attention, provides a grounding external focus.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, and it feels like the absolute core distinction here. The community isn't saying people with personality disorders can't be good parents. Not at all. What they're overwhelmingly saying is that untreated disorders pose immense, often devastating risks. That distinction, having a diagnosis versus actively seeking, committing to, and engaging in treatment, it's vital. It seems to be everything. It's the difference between a challenging path that can lead to healing and healthy relationships and one that potentially perpetuates trauma cycles. It puts the focus on accountability, consistent effort, maybe a lifelong journey for the well-being of everyone, especially the kids.
Exactly, and this whole discussion naturally leads to that critical, often agonizing question for the OP and anyone in a similar boat. What's the role, the responsibility of the extended family? Many commenters strongly push for being a safe place and positive adult role model for the child. Dismilic 18th account says being involved could make a world of difference. Friendly at 5177 shares a powerful personal story, attributing her survival to her aunt being her only safe place, teaching her what love felt like. That shows the transformative power of just one supportive person. Dizzy Rhythm encourages the OP. Be the aunt uncle I wish I had, emphasizing the huge impact that role can have. Comprehensive I-628 goes further, urging the family to step up to level 100,000,000,000,000 for this child. Help them understand it's not them but their parents, protecting the child's self-worth from internalizing the issues. Honey Lama even gives practical advice. Tell the child their feelings matter. Show unconditional love. Maybe later gift books like Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents to help them understand and heal.
That sounds like such a vital role, almost heroic in a way, but is it fair? Is it even sustainable to put that immense burden on extended family, especially if they're already maybe burnt out from years of dealing with these dynamics themselves? It's easy to say be the safe place, but what does that actually mean day to day? What's the psychological cost?
That's a critical point, and the comments absolutely reflect that tension. There's a strong counter-narrative. Sissy B82 questions why this huge responsibility should fall solely on the OP, calls it a shitty safety net for a human being that really highlights the pressure, the potential burnout. It acknowledges it's maybe a systemic failure if it all falls on willing family members. And Shiny Blue Dollar, the one who went low contact with her brother and his BPD wife, she powerfully explains prioritizing her own mental health, protecting her own child. She says, I refuse to die of thirst along with them, emphasizing that sometimes self-preservation is the only viable choice when facing destructive dynamics that just drain you. This dichotomy, it shows the immense challenge. Balancing concern, the desire to protect a vulnerable child, with the absolute need to maintain your own well-being, set boundaries. It's a real tightrope walk, no easy answers, especially if the family member trying to help is maybe a survivor of those same dynamics themselves.
So, what does this mean for the OP's immediate actions? Or for anyone in this kind of awful predicament? The responses show there's no single right answer, is there? The OP faces this agonizing choice. How much can you realistically intervene, support, even sacrifice without risking your own stability, your own mental health? It's deeply personal. Weighing the desire to mitigate harm against the limits of your own capacity. A human dilemma many can relate to, where the right answer is murky and often comes with its own pain.
Which leads us naturally to maybe the most controversial part of the discussion in the comments. External intervention. Specifically, Child Protective Services, CPS. This topic generates intense, really agonizing debate. You have strong calls for immediate action. Granger Scat suggests contacting social services anonymously, even pre-alerting them before the baby's born. Others echo this proactive stance. Good Narwhal 420, Empire State of Being, U Complex, PTSD, No Satisfaction 66. They all advocate for documenting behavior videos, audio, keeping receipts of harmful interactions, continuous reporting, pushing for custody, maybe kinship placement with a relative. Move Me With the Sound even gave her number to neighbors to report abuse, showing the extreme lengths some consider. This side focuses on the legal, systemic routes to potentially safeguard a child, the idea of official intervention as a safety net. But the counterpoint, it's equally powerful and deeply sobering. It reveals the flaws in the system meant to protect. Squelch Ej Y, who identifies as a child of the system, gives this stark warning. The system itself is extremely damaging, traumatic, and abusive. They describe going through over 17 plus houses never loved, being beat, abused, stolen from. a childhood with no support systems leading to insane odds of homelessness later.
Wow. That completely flips the script on CPS being the automatic solution.
It absolutely does. It opens up that critical, often overlooked dimension. CPS intervention, while sometimes necessary, isn't a magic wand. The trauma of removal, separation from biological parents, even abusive ones, the instability of foster care, it can inflict its own deep psychological damage. The system often struggles. Overburdened caseworkers, lack of resources, the difficulty of replicating a stable, loving home. So it raises that incredibly important question: is the system always the best solution? Or does it sometimes cause its own trauma, swapping one set of problems for another? It's an agonizing choice for anyone considering it, a choice between two very imperfect, potentially damaging realities.
It really is an agonizing dilemma.
Yeah.
No easy answers, no clear path when a child's safety is at risk. And the available solutions, family intervention or state systems, they're both imperfect, carrying huge risks. It highlights these deep systemic challenges in protecting vulnerable kids when parents won't or can't get help.
And beyond the immediate concern for the child, the comments also sparked this fascinating, sometimes heated, meta-discussion about the personality disorders themselves. Diagnosis, stigma, accountability. One commenter, Pexissary Flavor, expressed strong offense at the original post, arguing it's disgusting to say to neurodivergent people that people with those disorders can be good parents and good people, accusing the OP of being hateful. This frames the OP's concern as prejudice, suggesting the problem is perception, not the conditions. But this view was swiftly, powerfully countered by multiple commenters, many who also identify as neurodivergent or having BPD, showing the complexity within the mental health community itself. Tricky Personality 684, diagnosed BTD, clarified, the OP isn't painting everyone with the same brush. They state that without acknowledging and treating the disorders, individuals are indeed a risk to a child. This comment nails that crucial distinction again. Problem isn't diagnosis, it's refusal to address it. Similarly, Dumpster Phoenix 7, neurodivergent with BPD, asserts it's not hateful to honestly acknowledge and discuss the damage done by mental illness, treated or untreated, and it's not hateful to hold the same people accountable for their treatment of themselves and others.
That's a powerful call for accountability, saying empathy shouldn't mean excusing harm.
Exactly. And Vivid Tortios adds that good parenting, regardless of diagnosis, requires acknowledgement and treatment of issues, because effective parenting needs self-awareness, emotional regulation, consistency. Then, BLVPC VTM Viajek raised a really interesting point about the diagnosis validity, given the parents' refusal to accept it. They noted NPD individuals are notoriously difficult to diagnose because they usually have to agree to therapy first. And BPD carries stigma, sometimes leading to misdiagnosis or avoidance. This initially casts some doubt, but then the OP steps in with a crucial clarification. Her sister's BPD diagnosis. From a court-ordered pre-sentence report for criminal charges, she did get treatment in prison, refused it since release. Her husband also had court-ordered therapy.
Ah, okay, so these aren't just casual labels. They're professionally validated, even in legal context.
Precisely. It validates the professional nature of the diagnoses, despite current non-acceptance. It adds significant weight to the OP's concerns. These aren't assumptions, they're recognized conditions with documented impact.
This whole exchange really highlights the huge complexity, the sensitivity around mental health discussions, especially online, where nuance gets lost so easily. It powerfully underscores that critical difference between having a diagnosis with its burdens and stigmas and taking personal accountability to actively seek and commit to treatment. One is a medical reality, often beyond immediate control. The other is a profound, ongoing choice that impacts everyone, especially the most vulnerable. Wow. We really navigated a challenging landscape today, from that initial shock and despair of the OP feeling that sadness for the unborn child, to the multitude of nuanced, often conflicting voices in the comments. It's clear. The intersection of mental health, family, new life, it brings up some of the most profound human questions. It's a testament to the messy, often painful reality of human connection and how people grapple with truly difficult situations.
Absolutely. And through this deep dive, we've clearly seen the potential devastation of untreated personality disorders on children, often leading to lasting trauma, needing significant healing. But importantly, we also heard those powerful stories of resilience, both from individuals with the diagnoses who did the incredibly hard work to heal and parent effectively, and, crucially, from the children who, despite tough upbringings, found ways to thrive, often thanks to external support and love from others around them.
And maybe the biggest takeaway is that incredibly complicated, emotionally fraught role of the extended family. That constant tightrope walk, balancing the deep desire to protect a vulnerable child with the absolute necessity of maintaining personal boundaries for your own well-being. It highlights that agonizing decision of when and how to intervene, especially when formal supports, like CPS, while sometimes necessary, carry their own risks and can inflict their own trauma.
This deep dive really leaves us with a powerful thought, doesn't it? When someone struggles with untreated mental health challenges, especially ones impacting behavior and relationships, the ripple effect goes far beyond them. It profoundly impacts those closest, reshaping family dynamics, sometimes for generations. And it raises fundamental questions about collective responsibility, about personal agency in seeking help, and about that lifelong journey of healing and support so many are forced onto.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do we, as a society and as individuals and families, how do we best support not just those with mental health challenges, but also the silent sufferers, the family members, and especially the children who often bear the brunt of unaddressed issues? What steps can we as a community take to foster environments where accepting a diagnosis and actively pursuing treatment aren't just options, but maybe become the expected norm for the well-being of everyone involved?